So, my summer as a goth. Shall we talk about it? Roll the titles. Hi guys, I am Mr. Scotty Pie and I am back for another movie review. This time it's for the new film called My Summer as a Goth. This is a new, a teen romance film. So before you hear my review in general, please take it with a pinch of salt, as this isn't my demographic of a film, but I did give my full and honest opinion of this. So before I do jump into that, please do go and hit that like button, and if you do enjoy this video as well, I also do trailer reactions, general movie talk, movie reviews, and weekly movie news. If that does sound like your sort of thing, please do go and hit that subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world to me. So, My Summer as a Goth. Within the opening minutes of this film, my first impressions was it felt a bit like a Hallmark film. Bit cheesy, bit over the top, and I'm going to be honest, my hopes for it wasn't that high. I was drawn into this film though when the opening titles started. They were animated in a very stylish and cool way. The music was fantastic, and if I'm going to be honest, the music in general for this film was fantastic. It really was well chosen music. I couldn't tell you what any of the songs were, but they worked really well for the film. They sounded great, and definitely a highlight in my opinion. The actors in this film, I haven't actually seen any of them before in anything. I haven't heard of them or seen them, so I was going with them all with fresh eyes. So the star of the film, who was Natalie Shershow, and she plays Joey, as I said, the star of this film. At times I felt she was trying a little bit too hard, trying to play the emotional, troubled teenager with problems of the past, to a point that it took you away out of it at times. But as the film progressed, you saw her progression as an actor. I felt she became more comfortable in front of the camera and in her role, and by the end of it she became actually quite enjoyable to watch as an actress. I said at the beginning she was a bit hard to watch. By the end of it, you looked forward to watching her, because I said it was a steady progression of watching her grow as an actor in one film. It was really interesting and absolutely fantastic. We then have Rachelle Henry, who plays Molly, who was Joey's best friend before her whole goth transition. She was definitely a standout in this film. She seemed comfortable in her role from the very get-go, and always a pleasure to watch, and definitely the most natural in front of the camera of all the cast, in my opinion. That's including the adult actors. Jack Levis, or Levi, I'm not sure how to pronounce his surname, who played the love interest and the goth of the film. He played this role quite well, in my opinion. He made you feel the right emotions, which was usually disgust. He was not a likeable character from the absolute get-go, in my opinion. I'm not sure if that's what the filmmakers are going for, because I'm not sure if they want you to like him to start off with and see how Joey could fall for him, and then so far the film start dropping more dislikable features about him, and by the end of him dislike him. If that was what they were going for, it didn't work, in my opinion. But I think that would have helped this film a little bit better. But at the same time, I can also see the direction. If that wasn't what they were going for and they wanted you to dislike him from the get-go, I also understand that route as well. Because if they're making, like, he's not a very likable character, he's a bit domineering and condescending, and everyone can see him but Joey because she's so love-struck. I can also see that route as well. It does work that way as well, and I felt that's more of the way it happened to go. But I said, if that's the way they're going, they nailed it, but I'm not sure if it was, and that could be a bit of a problem. But as I said, I'm not too sure. My problems with him as an actor, though, I felt he played this role a bit too camp. It was a bit too over the top, and yeah, I think camp describes it best. And that took away from his performance at quite a few times in this film. The grandparents in this film were a joy to watch. They wasn't the greatest actors, but they managed to portray everything they needed to. The humour, the fun, and the emotions and the emotional impacts of that they needed to portray in this film. And I felt they portrayed it all very, very well. So even though they weren't the greatest actors, they did everything they needed to do in this film perfectly. We have the friends, Cobb and Penn, played by Carter Allen and Jenny White. They were very much fun characters to watch in this film, but it felt like they were played by amateur dramatic actors, taken straight from an amateur theatre group, which would have been a huge problem for this film if their roles were bigger. But their roles were just the right size, where they managed to push the storyline through and definitely guide it at times, portray some comic relief, and enjoyable to watch. If their roles were bigger than that, their acting performances would have made the film suffer. But their roles were a really good size that you didn't, even though you noticed it, it didn't take anything away, and you just enjoyed the characters for the way they were written. And finally, we had Eduardo Reis, who played Antonio, who in my opinion was the best character of the film. He was my favourite one I enjoyed watching. He wasn't a great actor at all. He wasn't. But what he lacked in talent, he made up for in what he poured into the role. He poured everything into the role. He wanted to make this role work, and because of that, he elevated his performance. If he was very blasé about his role, he would have been a very forgettable and quite an annoying character. But the fact that him as a person, as the actor, was so willing to make this work and put so much of his heart and soul into it, really elevated not just his character, but the film, definitely. And as I said, he was my favourite of the film. He was someone I actually looked forward to his scenes. I actually wish we got to see more of him and more character developments, because I just enjoyed watching him so much. So I hope I get to see him in more things in the future and get to watch him as develop as an actor 100%. So the story as a whole at times felt very, very much like it followed a formula. It introduced Victor, who was the goth love interest. At times he was a bit cringy and hard to watch. And someone who did grow up with many goth friends like myself, I am a heavy metal music fan, so I grew up with that crowd and with goths and punks and all that. So I know this type of person quite well, and I struggle to find any believability in his character. I struggle to find the people I knew in him. I'm not sure if that was the writing or his performance, but I struggled to find him a very believable goth, to say. And as that was his main character trait, it suffered a bit for the film, in my opinion. But that might just be me. If you don't know that type of person, maybe that's how you see that. I'm not sure if that was the writers, if they were from a goth background and that's what they knew. It felt very 80s goth. When goth started coming out in the 80s, they were so over the top, and that's what it felt like. But the progression of that style of culture and people has changed and evolved, and it felt like the characters they chose hadn't. So it's just a little nitpick, I'd say. But I did find myself disliking Victor from the absolute get-go, and frustrated that no one else could see how controlling and condescending he was. And it was bugging me to a point that it was hard to watch the films at times. But when it found out that people could see it, and it was just Joey was so love-struck that she dismissed it, and eventually she started to see it and understand that the grandparents and Molly could also see what they're trying to point her to. It felt a lot more comfortable and a lot more enjoyable to watch in retrospect, and made you enjoy the writing of the film a lot more and understand how clever the writing of the film is more than you initially did. So in retrospect, I enjoyed this film a lot more than as I was watching it at times. I do like that they didn't give him a redemption arc, which would have been quite easy to do, and made it like at the end all's well and all's happy with Joey and Victor. I'm glad they didn't do that. It would have taken away from the film and ruined his character, because it's not who he was as a character. I'm really glad they did that. I think that was definitely a plus that I was very pleased with. Joey, who was the star of the film, was a very likeable character. I found myself cheering for her and rooting for her character. Even at times that I felt that she overplayed the character and things like that, it didn't take away from what I felt towards the character. And at times you felt protective towards her from Victor, the same way as the grandparents did. And I think that's down to good writing and good directing, I'd say. Very good. And she portrayed the moody teenager at the very awkward time of her stage of her life very well. As I said, sometimes over the top, but definitely believable, and definitely you could see things from what you saw from other people and yourselves in her. And I said that was definitely a plus, because everyone's been there at the time in their life, so you could really see it in this character, and that was definitely down to the actor's portrayal of this role. Natalie Shershow, so I did have to check her name again, as I've not seen her before. That was definitely down to her acting chops, and so that was a plus for her acting ability. And as an actor, I am looking forward to seeing her progression. I wouldn't be shocked if I see her in more things in the future, and I do hope that I do, along with Eduardo Reese. I really hope I see him more in different things in the future. So, in conclusion, there were points in this film that I cringed and struggled with this film, but by the end I found myself sad that the film was ending, because I was enjoying the character development so much. I'd love to have seen where they went on, which is a massive plus. Leave me wanting more, 100%, and that was definitely something I appreciated with the film. And I was like, I'd love to have seen where they all went afterwards, and I always find that as a good sign of good writing, in my opinion. I think the 1 hour 40-minute length for this film, though, was perfect. I think any longer it would have actually dragged and made the film suffer. Any shorter, you would have lost a lot of the character development that was so integral to the storyline. So I think 1 hour 40 is perfect. Maybe they could have made an hour and 30 and chopped some of the fat off, but there was no need. There was absolutely no need. I also know this film wasn't targeted for me, my age group, and my likes and tastes in film, so I knew that going in for the film, and that was absolutely fine. But I found this film to be very charming, and if I did know any teenage girls looking for a film to watch, I would recommend this film 100%. I think this is a film that isn't going to change the world and be anyone's favourite film of all time, but I think this is a film that a teenage girl can definitely lose himself in and definitely gain a lot from. A minus, I think some of the exhibitions at the end, where they felt they need to explain the moral of the story, was a bit obvious, but absolutely fine with that. So if I had to rate this film, personally, I'd give this film a very strong 6 to a 6.5. As I said, I'm not the target audience for this, so maybe I'm judging this a bit harshly. Have you seen this film though? What did you think of this film? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was you in the middle? Let me know in the comments below. I do respond to all comments, so I'd love to have a conversation with you down there about this. If you did enjoy this film and did enjoy this video, please do hit that like button. And if you did enjoy this video, want to see more, and you want to see more trailer reactions, movie reviews, general movie talk, and of course that weekly movie news, if that does sound like your sort of thing, please do hit that subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world to me. I hope you have a good day. I am Mr. Scotty Pie, and I am out of here.